electricity and hot water.
Yeah.
And you have, but you're a survivalist to the degree that you have, you can retain water and you can purify water.
I don't think you're supposed to say that to a woman.
That, yeah. Oh, I mean, you told me
We
about.
all retain water.
Yeah, I know. I didn't do that.
But yes, recently I had that bad room. There's a lot of con jobs in Los Angeles, and I had no hot water for 19 days. So I just stayed cool looking for another place, until I could get out of there. But definitely no hot water is not something that I would want to do again. But I did it in college, when or after college, we rented an apartment for a discount, and there was a garden hose down in the basement. We didn't do it for that long, but I mean, if you have to do something, I think freedom is better than having everything you need in a gilded cage.
Yeah. But on the other hand, absolute freedom without challenge or randomity becomes trying. It's, the concept, this is minus randomity, painful minus randomity.
Right. Yes.
Not enough.
But I have talked to a lot of people about, like, my kids aren't talking to me, but a lot of people in Beverly Hills or rich families, they had trouble with their kids because it was too easy, everything was granted. I don't know. I bought my daughter a new Jeep when she was 16 years old, right? And I made car payments at that time. I had a Toyota. She had a Jeep. I thought she needed it because I thought she was going to go in Hollywood. And now it's like, what is it that happens to kids that are provided a really nice lifestyle? And my kids will tell you that they were raised poor.
What you mean? What people are having trouble with their kids because the kids are too entitled?
Yes. Yes. And there's nothing I did that a mom wasn't supposed to do, So there's nothing I can do that's special that a mom wouldn't do. There's some truth in that, right? But I mean, instead of having a house with a pool, I could have had a studio apartment, and put some money in the bank.
Yeah. Yes, maybe.
Right.
It's hard to perceive what happens. It's hard to predict what should have been. You never know. And don't you think the kids are, I understand they're your children and it's different for a man and a woman, but the kids are individuals. It's not like they're not molded in clay off of you as a model. They're just, they happen to arrive with you, from you, but they're not, I mean, they're your kids, but I think they're independent people. And sometimes they, I can see characteristics similar based on the way they were raised, I guess, but they're different. They're not me. Your kids are not you. Or what do you think about that? Do you think that the kids are, to a degree, Christine?
I think they are an extension, and they were an extension until they were 16. Okay. We were definitely similar, complementary, interactive. But after that, there was a big separation, but I do find that there's studies too on couples. If they have two sinks in the bathroom, they often fight more. Where if they have one sink and they have to learn how to work together, I mean, those small things of working together with what you have instead of being entitled to my space, your space, but who knows? Who knows? But at least I did everything I thought I could do within my parameter, and I would do it the same way. I just wish I had spent a little more time with the kids instead of working. And that's what I saw every parent, especially the first couple of years. Be with that kid because they're only going to be a little kid for a couple of years, and then they start growing up really fast.
So I'm going to ask you a tough question. So how old were the kids when you broke apart with your husband?
2.5 years. And
Oh, they're twins.
we had
It's the same.
they're twins. Yeah. Yeah. And it was supposed to be a separation to kind of give him a kick in the butt to get his stuff together. But he banged someone else during that time. So that was the end of the separation and just go into a divorce.
But he had minimal contact with raising the kids after that.
He tried, and I think he was around a lot at first. But then he moved out of the country. So you can't do much when you move out of the country. I wouldn't move out of the same city or area, so the other one could easily come over to be with the kids, or the kids could go to them. But moving out of the country, that's kind of the end of that.
Where did he go? Venezuela or Argentina?
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is Jewish. Was he Jewish? He's not Jewish.
No, his wife is.
His wife is.
Yeah. Yeah. And they had a kid together, so he wanted to at least be with the kid, but I hope it worked out good for him. The thing is that when we got together, I was brought up the old-fashioned way. The woman takes care of the household and the man provides, the income. And it was like that for all the time we were dating, that we were married and we had the kids. But after the kids came, he wanted me to go to work. And that caused a lot of problems.
Yeah. So from the time 2.5 to 3 or 3.5 years old, it's just you and the two kids.
Yeah.
And you had to support all of that. Not no support, nothing, just you.
I mean, like he would help here and there. Like once he paid my telephone bill, so he could talk to the kids. There was times like that he helped out, but the whole divorce thing and child support thing is really messed up because it was only supposed to be $250, which I could have really used then, right? Now it doesn't really matter. But he does have a new family, a new wife, and a new child. So he wants to support that unit, So, I mean, I had thought that I could just stay together like our grandparents might have stayed together. You stay in your room, I stay in my room. But it just wasn't something I really wanted to do. But I do miss that. I do miss having a house that the kids could come together for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and that was the house that they grew up with.
Yeah. I'm thinking, I know two, I'm running through it. I know at least two other people that are sheltering in place by themselves. Because it's usually two people or three. But you're by yourself. And I have a friend in New York and another friend in LA. There may be many, many people that are just singular. And once you start, you're really not going to change it, because if you add somebody in, then it's like start over. I mean, you're just, there you are. But you go out a lot.
Yeah.
You go to stores.
I go to stores. I go to get my mail. I go to the store again, even though I don't need anything, because it's entertaining. It's
right. Sure.
And like you said, the parks are closed. You're not allowed to go to the parks.
It's crazy.
So I don't know. I'm waiting to see what happens over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. But this is happening across the country, just not to the degree that it's happening in LA.
It's happening. I don't think it's happening like Trump said. I don't think it's happening in the flyover states, Utah, Colorado,
right.
Omaha.
Well, I just heard like Montana says we're fine. We don't want anyone to come in here. And if you come in here, you have to quarantine for like 14 days. I mean, those kind of states don't want anyone coming in there.
Right. So, but yeah, I think it's gonna, some guy, I know who it was, but anyhow, just three basic things. It's like militant enforcement of quarantine, like China. And then the other is, well, and the other was, I'm trying to remember, it was Singapore or maybe Thailand. Somebody did it. Said, look, the people who are at risk are, over 670 or have an existing respiratory or other medical ailment, they have a history of, asthma or something. And those are that's the limit. Those are the people who are at highest risk. 80% right now, 80% of the people who test positive don't go to the hospital. 50% of them don't even feel sick, and then a certain percentage feel sick, and then a smaller percentage go to the hospital. And of those, maybe 20% die, and mostly people over 70 or with an existing condition. So if you quarantine them, so everybody, if you're sick and you got a cough, don't come into work, stay home. If it develops into the virus, you have to stay home. And or if you're over 70, don't go out, stay home. Okay, quarantine the old people and the ill people, and then let everybody else go back to work. So there'll be some contamination, but not that severe. Because if everybody who goes to work is between, 15 to 80, 15 to 50 or something, even if they get it, they're going to get through it. Just get back to work. Get the machine going again.
I always grew up understanding that you're supposed to get flus and viruses because they go through the body and you build up antibodies.
Right.
I do try to stay away from kids now,
yeah.
Right? Because I don't have antibodies for what they have going around. And
right.
I had that happen a couple of times, with the grandkids, and it hit me a lot harder than, if an older person passes you something, the common flu. But the common flu is even, people don't stay home for that because they have to work. They have to earn that income that they're socked into.
Yeah. So, and the one thing I think, Christine, is that, like, I can email you these things I've seen and so forth, but you can't go. It's like, maybe I told you this already. It invented a new class of people who are more detested than climate deniers. If you're a virus denier, virus denier.
Oh yes.
If you say, look, this is just a scam. This is like, I show you 14 other false flag things, and they're using this to manipulate this and that. And this woman was saying that she came out with a very interesting viewpoint that the people that are running the economy here, they're stealing money at the top and this and that. So they create these bubbles, like the housing bubble, the .com bubble, where everything speculates and blow up. And she said they were doing this with China. Now you get everything, because you're getting everything so cheap from China, you can make a big profit on it and still, and really distribute it. So TVs, you can buy a TV for $300 or $400 now. They used to cost like $1,200 or $2,000. If you go into Costco, you see giant 55-inch TV, you say $300. That's for this box that comes in, right? No, that's the TV. It's crazy, And
I used to always think about that, right? Even a box of matches.
Yeah, so they were doing it through the cheap labor in China, and that's another bubble, and that evaporated for two reasons.
And the manipulation of the Chinese yuan.
Right. And the thing was, she said the cycle was the consumer money's going to China for manufacturing through the brokers and stuff. And then the Chinese are buying U.S. bonds and U.S. property. But now they're not. Now they're trying to do, like, you could call imperialist moves in Africa and Sri Lanka and other places. They're moving out to make what they call a chain of pearls, like a Silk Road going across the continent to go to Europe. and a sea lane that they call the pearls, and creating islands in the ocean and the South China Sea. So they turned their attention from buying U.S. bonds, which would feed back to us and kept the cycle going. And now they're just investing their money out elsewhere. So that's so the dollar's more at risk now. So there was like a really
Well, there's always been a problem of countries going in and say getting diamonds in Africa.
yeah.
People are paid like $1 a day, but they make, zillions, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. There has to be something more humanitarian about where you're getting your stuff from and what you're paying the locals and what you're making.
Maybe there should be. I don't know that there ever will be, because I'm not critical of mankind. I don't go like, oh, everybody is so evil, and I don't want to use any nasty words, but I just look at them like I'm watching a nature channel. What do you expect? Come on, they're just just human beings.
Yeah, and I think governments are sold, to the highest bidder.
Yeah, it happens.
They're not politicians; they're prostitutes.
Yeah,
Sold to the highest bidder.
But my prostitute's better than the other guy's prostitute. I want my guy in office.
Right.
It's that smooth.
Right.
So it is. I'm not saying it's I don't view it as a chaotic thing. I like Western civilization. I admire and approve of the basic, American standards of free speech, freedom, and responsibility, and take care of yourself and then take care of somebody else, and helping people, all of this good Samaritan, actually a lot of the Christian principles. But I've seen them, like any good principle, if used in excess, becomes negative. So having empathy for the downtrodden becomes ridiculously harmful if you're saying like, well, we've been allowing a lot of people in, but I found a whole group of people on an island and they're all dying to have leprosy and HIV and nobody's helping them. Let's get them in here. Let's help them. Bring them to the U.S. because nobody else can help them. That's like empathy, self-destructive. It's not right. So,
well, also, like, there's a lot of services for the homeless.
Sure.
Beyond. The money's not going to them. I mean, LA built like homeless shelter for $500,000 for like one family. Right. I want to live there, but I don't qualify, right?
Yeah.
But if we make families and churches maybe start taking care of one another. I remember when AAA started, I thought it was the end of society because
really?
Where I grew up, if someone was in the ditch, everyone got their tractors and pulled them out. Now sure. You just drive by them while they're in the ditch and hope they have AAA. If they don't have AAA, they're a fool.
Yeah. Do you still stop? You don't stop, do you?
Do I still what? Stop.
Do you stop?
It depends on what's happening.
Yeah.
I want to make sure they have a cell phone. If it's someone that looks like I want to stop and see if they're okay.
Doesn't look like
other ones I'll let the big strong guy behind me stop.
That's right.
Yeah.
Being a good Samaritan is an interesting hobby. I've always done that.
But it's not like giving a hand down.
No.
Right?
No. It's if you were in that place, you'd expect the same.
You teach someone the fish, so they can continue to have fish forever.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just taking them to a fancy restaurant for one meal. It might be better to buy them a fishing pole and